Welcome into a live edition of the Desmond Johnson Show. It's Tuesday. It is Super Bowl 59 Fallout. We've got Jalen Gilkey in the house from WFMY News to help me kind of figure out what the hell we just watched on Sunday. The Philadelphia Eagles putting boots to asses basically against the Kansas City Chiefs. 40-22 was the final, but that's not even really. It was like 40-6, like with a couple minutes left to go in the fourth. Like it was like these high school games we'd be covering in the fall when you get one of those you get one of those Grimsley or Easternside squads going up against a team that just ain't got enough. And it was apparent from the very beginning. So we're going to get into the game itself. Of course, with both of us here today, we'll get into the Kendrick Lamar halftime show. And I wanted to talk more about the actual response to it on social media, because I saw more people talking about the halftime show than the actual game all day yesterday. So we'll get into that as well. Just a lot to get into here. We're live, so you can drop your comments here at the bottom of the screen. If you got something you want to say regarding the Super Bowl or regarding Kendrick Lamar, or you want to ask a question, anything along those lines, you can do it. But let's go ahead and roll that intro. It's the Desmond Johnson Show.
Live with Desmond Johnson, son, the live is one. Represent NC to the fullest.
Yeah, welcome to the Carolinas. Everywhere you go, the sky is Carolina blue, the finest. Live action, feedback, the city need that. I've been number one, no cap. Here's the recap. Adrenaline is my addiction. I'm about to relapse. Step on the turf if you won't and get your weed wet. I'm going harder than a martyr on the slaughter end. It's the heart of man, that's a rap like a cardigan. I'm breaking records, it's fourth and inches, I count the seconds. The over-under's my roar of thunder, my secret weapon. Yeah, the game is to be told. I don't break, I break modes. Follow me on Tobacco Road.
Live with Desmond Johnson, son, the live is one. Represent NC to the fullest.
And welcome into the Desmond Johnson Show here on TobaccoRoadSportsRadio.com. You can see it exclusively on the Tobacco Road YouTube channel, youtube.com/@TobaccoRoadSportsRadio. Jalen Gilkey in the house, sports anchor for WFMY News 2 here in the Triad, as he shares the anchor chair on Tuesday with David Glenn. And, of course, you get the honor of having the Tuesday after Super Bowl 59. Three things I loved and hated this weekend. A lot of it's going to be Super Bowl related. Let's get into the game itself before we get into Kendrick and all this other stuff here. The Eagles 40-22 winners over the Kansas City Chiefs. There's not really a whole lot to be said about the actual game itself. Give me your biggest takeaway from watching this game, either from the Chiefs side or the Eagles side.
Well, I would definitely say the number one thing that was most apparent when the final buzzer sounded on Sunday night was, something that I had been saying for a couple weeks. And ever since the matchup had been, unveiled to us or set in stone, that the Philadelphia Eagles just have a better football team. From
Overall,
1 through 53, they just have a better football team. They executed better. They had better players. They had a better team identity. They were hungrier. They were more hungry. It was a whole bunch of just excellence on the Eagles side, and there was a lot of question marks on the Kansas City Chiefs side. I'm not going to say they weren't prepared to play. I'm not going to say they didn't want to play because, going for history, and you always want to write your name in the history books and be the first to do something, especially in pro sports. But it did not look like the Kansas City Chiefs were prepared or even had a clue what was coming their way. And Philadelphia, they ran through them like poop through a goose. I'll tell you.
It felt like when I was watching it, my first thought in the first quarter, and I knew they were in danger. I was like, oh, they're in danger. It was that they're running out of gas. Like, they've ran out of gas. Like, if you think about it, Kansas City over the past 3 off seasons, they've almost played another full season, compared to these other teams. And like, that's another 3, 6, 9. They played another 9 games over the past 3 years. And it felt like it finally caught up to them. I didn't know this till yesterday. Philly did not blitz, not one time in that game, and it felt like there was 8 dudes in the backfield.
It felt like they
need to. Yeah, it felt like it got to a point where I'm screaming at the TV, "Don't step up!" Like in the pocket, because every time Pat Mahomes stepped up, there was a dude like this, like, "Come here, Pat Mahomes, come here, let me give you a big hug." Like, my dog didn't like that at all. But yeah, there was something going on in terms of the Philly front four. Shout out to them, and I love the fact that the narrative's been about what the Eagles did right, as opposed to what the Chiefs did wrong, because the Chiefs didn't really do anything. Like, they, going back to the high school football analogy, they didn't get past the 50-yard line until the midway through the third quarter. So this was just a complete dominating thing, and I know I'm much older than you are, and I was just telling Jonathan Stewart a minute ago, it reminded me of when I was a kid watching the Super Bowl, because the Super Bowl used to be a blowout pretty much every year. Like, there was a stretch when the NFC was winning like every single year. Redskins, Bears, 49ers, Giants, the Cowboys on their run. But when they got there, it was like just a beatdown usually of the AFC team. And really the past decade, we haven't had that. We've had close games. We've had finally an overtime game in Super Bowl. So this was the first like blowout, like where it was over really kind of by halftime, especially when they got to, it was like 34-0 in the third quarter. When it got to that point, it was just like, and the Chiefs has still not gotten past the 50. I was like, yeah, this one team came out determined to embarrass the other team. The other team came out waiting for something to happen, and it just never happened for the Chiefs.
And I was sitting there watching the game. We got the Cooper DeJean pick 6. So that happens. It's like, okay, 17-0. And then, basically the next pass Mahomes throws gets picked off by Bond. And that was really when I was like, oh, this game's over.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this game's
we had
over.
said that about the Chiefs all year.
I know the Chiefs, they got the ball back after half and whatnot, but once Bond caught that pick in Chiefs territory on the 14-yard line, with 2 minutes to go or something like that in the half, and they're already up 17. I was like, oh, this thing's over. There's no way.
Saquon hadn't even gotten off. Saquon didn't even do anything in the game. Really, the Chiefs kind of were like, we're going to stop Saquon Barkley. Jalen Hurts, you're going to have to beat us. And Jalen Hurts did that. Like, he had some beautiful passes.
Yeah, it just shows the completion and the perfection of this roster that was constructed, and the game plan that they came into the Super Bowl with, that they've had pretty much all season, whatever it needs to take to win. And they needed immense pressure from the front four and great coverage on the back end. That's exactly what they got. And then on the offensive side, all the Eagles needed was to protect Jalen Hurts and give him some time to let their weapons get open and beat these one-on-one matchups that they had. And that's exactly what happened. He delivered the ball. Jake Elliott, who has been shaky as a kicker, he was strong. He even knocked in pretty much double of what the scoreboard says, because there was a penalty every kick they had.
Yeah, they kept jumping off.
Yeah. It was just a complete. Even their punter punted the ball excellent. He punted the ball excellent.
Yeah.
There was not a phase of football. There was not a position on the field that the Kansas City Chiefs were better than the Philadelphia Eagles at any point in the game, man. It showed they weren't better coached on Sunday night. They didn't have better offensive play, quarterback play, tight end play. Any of the spots you think, D-tackle play that you would think would be in the Chiefs' favor, it was not. And the scoreboard does not even reflect the ass whooping that took place. It was like you said, 34-0. And that's really when, even at 24-0, the game was over. But when they got to 34-0, I said, oh boy.
Yeah.
Now 40-6 and then 40-22. But when you empty in the bench in the Super Bowl, you're doing something right. So
yeah, when they brought in the second and third string, I was like, oh man, like it's almost like I was waiting on a running clock in the Super Bowl. Exactly. Like it was crazy. Like sitting there watching.
Needed it.
So that was the first thing, was the game itself. The three things I loved and hated this weekend. It's still Super Bowl edition. The Eagles proving that they belong, and they're set up for the long term, because Hurts already got his money for the next couple of years. Like, he already got his bag. The wide receivers are locked up, if I'm not mistaken. The front four is locked up. DeJean's a rookie on a rookie deal. Carter's on a rookie deal on the D line. Like, they're set up, especially in the NFC. Now they will have like Detroit, the Commanders look like they might be doing something going forward. I don't know what to do with Minnesota yet, because I don't know what they're going to do with the quarterback situation, but it feels like it's going to be easier for the Eagles to get back to the Super Bowl than the Chiefs. And I feel like we've been spoiled by the Chiefs just getting there so often. We kind of forget how hard it is to actually get to the Super Bowl. And in the AFC, we've been talking about it all year. The Chiefs have to deal with the Ravens. They're going to have to deal with the Bills. They're going to have to deal with the Chargers now with Jim Harbaugh. Pete Carroll's back now in their division in Las Vegas. And I wouldn't be surprised if Aaron Rodgers ends up in Las Vegas with Pete Carroll, because it sounds like the Jets are saying we don't.
I think he's gonna go full Brett Favre prophecy.
Minnesota? You think he's gonna go back to Minnesota?
Yeah,
that would be wild if he did it. I think he should retire. To be honest, like, he should just quit. There ain't nothing wrong with I shouldn't say quit. Just retire. Like, what else do you have to do? We're gonna be 42, I think, going into the season. Just hanging out, but he won't. He'll probably try to play. So you got all that going on. So you got the Eagle stuff. One of the things that people outside of the Super Bowl is one of those events where people watch it, they don't watch football. And one of the reasons why they watch it is the commercials. And I noticed this year in particular, I felt like the commercials weren't that good. I didn't. There
been
wasn't
good for a long time.
Yeah, there wasn't nothing stuck out. You know what stuck out? There was a commercial for a lawyer locally here in somewhere in the Triad, but it felt like it was like an African American centric type firm, and they were like on a spaceship or something. And I can't. It was like a 2-part thing too. Like it was they're like sitting on the bridge of a spaceship or whatever, like Star Trek, and I can't figure out exactly what's going on. There's a guy on the screen. It's an attorney commercial, like, and it has to do with their office. And then it's like a to be continued. And then they had a second one that came on later. I'm like, yo, this is local. Like, this is a local like law office someplace doing this. They had like the green screens. They got all these graphics and stuff going on. And I'm like, the local spot was probably the best spot that I can remember seeing all night. Like normally there's a couple that you are like, oh, I can't wait to see that commercial again or whatever. Can't really think of any of them off the top of my head where I was just like, yeah, that was pretty good. It's almost like the companies decided not to spend money on the commercial.
Another thing is, they do all these previews, so no one can wait on anything now. So as soon as something is done, they put it up on social to show you a director's cut or what possibly it could be, or an extended cut of what a commercial is going to end up being for the Super Bowl. So that's why you're already kind of aware of what's coming down the pipe when it's Super Bowl time when it comes to the ads. I think my favorite commercial was the first one shown after the game, was the Jalen Hurts Jordan commercial. I think that was just awesome. That was great timing. It was a great message. And I was glad he was awarded Super Bowl MVP. As soon as he was awarded Super Bowl MVP, he runs his Jordan spot.
Oh, that was chef's kiss. I love
that.
Hurts.
That was great, man.
Yeah. That was a good commercial. And then of course, the third thing that we saw that I either loved or hated this weekend was the Kendrick Lamar Super Bowl halftime performance, which I personally loved. I thought it was great. I'm a Kendrick Lamar fan. I'm not like a super fan. I'm a Kendrick Lamar fan, and I've been a Drake fan too. I'm not a fan of all the singing and stuff, but it was the same way 20 years ago with Ja Rule and 50 Cent. Like I like Ja Rule's stuff, but I didn't like him just singing like a whole album or whatever. And I think Drake's got an R&B album coming out like in a couple of weeks with a collab with somebody. Might not be the best timing because Kendrick has been diabolical on this trolling mission he's been on with Drake in terms of like stretching this out. Like I think I even saw his world tour is about to start, and Kendrick will be in Toronto performing on Father's Day. It's like it's stuff like that. I'm just like, come on, man. Like, yo, the Canadian tuxedo at the Grammys. Like I was talking to B-Dot yesterday on Facebook, and he was one of the ones that was like disappointed that Kendrick didn't play some of his older stuff, and he kind of made it all about his beef with Drake and everything else. And I'm like, he just won 5 Grammys for a diss track. Like, no one's ever done this before. Like, America wants to hear this song. Like, it was very apparent in the stadium they wanted to hear that song. And he played some of the newer stuff, which is great. He did play Humble. He played DNA. He touched some of his older stuff. But I think people forgot he was in the Dr. Dre halftime show like a couple of years ago, and he did all right. He did Mad City. Like, he did those at the Super Bowl already. Why would he do them again? Like, what was your take on Kendrick's performance overall and the response to it yesterday on social media?
I thought it was a good. I thought it was a pretty good performance. I love the inside baseball stuff too when it comes to the beef, because I'm a petty guy. So that's just kind of my DNA, So I'm all about it, especially the situation too, where this thing escalated and elevated to, and the things that this beef and this song have ended up doing for Kendrick's career. So I 100% buy into, him going all in and all out on the actual Drake beef part of it. Only song I really wanted to hear was my favorite Kendrick song. I love Loyalty. I love that song.
Yeah, it would have been another slow song though.
It would have been. Exactly. And that was the thing. But that's just a great song, man. And I love it. I love it. I was really hoping he came out when Rihanna performed it. They did it together. That's what I was really hoping.
Mm-hmm. But I love Love. Like I love that song, and I was like, nah, it's gonna be slow. Like he can't do half the performance in the R&B thing. And I thought the way he did it with SZA was perfect. I love the fact that SZA was actually doing her thing and being presented in a manner where it was like, yes, this is an artist. This is a black artist. She doesn't have to be half naked up here, like singing or whatever. She can expose her talent, and she's a fantastic singer. And like the collaborations she's had with Kendrick have been great. And All the Stars, of course, the song from Black Panther, I thought it fit in perfectly. the inclusion of Samuel L. Jackson as Uncle Sam to kind of narrate it. And like when I went back and watched it again yesterday or last night, it's like Samuel L. Jackson is talking as if he's a representation of America and what they want Kendrick to do during the Super Bowl show. Right. But he's also like the kind of like the good angel devil on his shoulder, like, don't play that song. Like, you're not supposed to play that song. And that was the kind of theme throughout the whole thing. It's like, well, they want to hear it. Don't do it. Everybody expecting you to do it. Go another way. And then he thought they got to the end and then the beat drops. And it's like, so like, I mean, that was great. My only request was that I knew he was going to do this when the album came out. It's like, you have to end on TV off. Like, that song was created to end the Super Bowl halftime show with. Like, if you listen to it, you know, and like, I was like, you got to end it with TV off. And he did. And I love the fact he just cut the whole first verse out. Just get to what everybody wants. Get the mustard. Go. And like, that's what he did. And I was trying to rate it. I thought it was really good, but it's still not in my top 3 like Super Bowl halftime shows. Like, what's your top 3 Super Bowl shows?
My top 3 Super Bowl shows. Prince still got to be one. I just rewatched that last night too. Yeah. Prince got to be one.
You know what's crazy about that one too?
What?
When I rewatched it, because everybody remembers him playing Purple Rain then in the rain on electric guitar, which is iconic. But most of that performance, he's doing covers. Like, he covered Tina Turner, he covered Foo Fighters, he covered
he did a lot of tributes.
Jimi Hendrix. Yeah, he didn't really play a lot of Prince songs like that. So I thought that was different. But yeah, Prince is up there for me for sure.
Just because of just his artistry and, you know, his musicianship. And then of course the whole rain situation with Purple Rain. It was just, I mean, it felt like it was scripted that way. 2, I really loved Rihanna's performance last year, man. Was that last year or the year before last?
Me and my wife were trying to figure this out last night because I forgot Usher performed. Like,
Usher performed last year. So the year before
was 2 years ago, and Dre and them 3 years ago. Yeah. So
I love Rihanna's performance. I think she was my number 2 just because of the nostalgia, because no one had seen her perform, no one had heard her sing in so long, and just the moments and the absolute banger she has. So I think that would be my 2. And my 3. I think maybe my 3 would be, I think either what was it, Ravens 49ers Super Bowl when Beyonce cut the lights out, just because of the whole game and the whole situation, how that went.
Now, was that Beyonce by herself? Because the one I watched one last night, it was Beyonce, Bruno Mars, and Coldplay. And that
was when I was in college.
Okay,
the Beyonce, Bruno Mars, and Coldplay. That was when I was in college. They were in San Francisco for that one.
Was that that might have been the Panthers Super Bowl?
It was
Super Bowl 50. Yeah.
Okay. The Super Bowl.
So when Beyonce did it in New Orleans, she was by herself.
By herself. Yeah.
Okay, and that was a couple years later.
No, that was 2012.
Yeah. So that would have been No, it was a couple years before. You're right. So, and the thing that I was bringing up to people's faces. The one thing that did bother me that I hated this weekend was so many people saying it should have been Lil Wayne instead of Kendrick in the Super Bowl thing because it was in New Orleans. Yeah. And I'm like, where were we all when Beyonce did this in New Orleans a couple years back when Lil Wayne was actually on top of the rap game? I didn't see anybody going, oh, this should be Lil Wayne's spot.
It wasn't fathomable that Lil Wayne could do a halftime performance then, though.
Yeah, right. Like nowadays, have you seen Lil Wayne, like clips of Lil Wayne, like lately during live shows?
So the thing is, back when Beyonce did the New Orleans Super Bowl, there weren't rap artists getting that slot. So now that it's become more popular, more feasible for a rap artist to fill that slot, then now everybody else. So I understand that part of it, but I mean, I think Kendrick Lamar did a great job, and I don't think there would be a better time for that performance. I don't know. I mean, I get it. Lil Wayne in New Orleans, he is the culture there. He is the city, but I don't think anybody in the music industry deserved that halftime performance more than Kendrick, just because of his impact on the music business this year.
And the music industry just cemented that with giving him 5 Grammys the week before. Everyone wanted to see this. Like, this is what it was. And now he's about to go off on a world tour, which brings up my question. Who's left that hasn't done a halftime show that you'd want to see do a halftime show that could actually pull it off? Because now the question is, does Jay-Z, for those who don't know, Rock Nation are the ones that are actually doing these shows they've been doing. I think Dre was the first one that he actually did. So Dre, Usher, Rihanna, and now Kendrick Lamar. Who do they go ask next? Do you go to Drake now? Because they've asked him a few times, from my understanding, he's declined. if you're Drake, do you decide to do the Super Bowl halftime show now after what just happened, like on Sunday, or do you just try to do the whole this? I'm not even participating in this beef anymore. I'm gonna ignore it and just go on and carry on with my life, and it is what it is. If it's not him, because Drake's the only one I could think of rap wise that should be asked. Who else is out there that could, in theory, do a halftime show that everybody enjoys? Because the one thing I did notice with this that I did hate was that there's a segment, well, it's about half the audience that was just like, either this was great or this was the worst halftime show ever. There was no middle. And the ones that were saying that it was worst halftime show ever, I realized that they were feeling like they were not included. Like with the Super Bowl, it's like usually the halftime show is some pop act or someone where you know at least something about him. With Kendrick, there's a segment that don't know him really at all or his music or anything. So they felt left out. Like they felt left out of the Super Bowl halftime show, and they vented that anger online with, this is, I can't understand him. I can't hear him. He's talking too fast. It's too low. I don't know this music. It don't make no sense. Blah, 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 blah. All the dog whistles, I guess you could say, for why they didn't like it. Who's out there that would appease the majority of America to do a Super Bowl halftime show right now?
I mean, I know this is a point that's been echoed a couple times already, but when you go away from pop acts, that's going to be the case. So just because pop is the most crossover and most multicultural.
I'm trying to think of who's out there. Who's the biggest, like, who would you say is the biggest artist? Well, it might be Kendrick Lamar right now, but who's the biggest like music artist in the world right now?
I mean, Taylor Swift, probably. Beyonce.
Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift's never done a halftime show, has she? No, I don't think she has.
But I mean, you got to remember, like, before it was the Who and the Eagles and
Metallica and
Maroon 5,
U2.
like a whole bunch of people.
Yeah.
There was a lot of people that felt disconnected from those performances that had no clue.
Thank you.
Really
Yes.
going on. So I mean, you're never going to hit on 100% of the audience just because of the, there's so many different people in this country, in this world that like so many different things.
And
so
people got to keep
no
in
one's going to
mind.
be just happy. I think the last time that people were actually like, everybody was thrilled with the halftime performance was probably the Bruno Mars, Beyonce, and whoever the other Coldplay. Just because they hit a whole bunch of different. They had a whole bunch of different features together. They had a whole bunch of different songs that they could do. And when you're hitting 3 different genres like that, I mean, but when you go up there and you got one guy performing one specific genre, then it's going to be tougher to have everybody enjoy it.
I will say the Usher performance, I rewatched that last night because I'd forgotten he even did it. I think it was last year. It was actually really underrated. It's really good. He's out there on roller skates.
But it's another pop R&B.
Yeah.
I mean, like when you do pop, you can get away with that. Everybody's going to be happy because everybody knows the songs when they walk through the mall. Everybody knows the songs that when they're shopping in
makes you feel good.
Stores, the department stores, and things like that. It's just
and that you just nailed it right there. They're singing songs that make you feel good. Kendrick's making you think.
Yeah.
And people don't want to think during the halftime Super Bowl performance. They don't want to think or think about the outside world or whatever. They're trying to get away from it. And Kendrick brought it into your living room and made you watch it, and it made some people uncomfortable. I will say this though too. A lot of times people plan their Super Bowl performance off of that moment, like live. I don't think Kendrick planned any of this out like that live. I think he planned it out like this is going to be rewatchable. This is art. We're going to watch this again and again, and people are going to pick up things that are going on in the entire 13 minutes, whatever they didn't see the last time they watched it. And I would imagine by the time we get to this February, by the time we get to March or April, that thing's gonna have like 200 million views or whatever on YouTube.
Absolutely.
So and that was the whole point. So these artists don't get paid to do these Super Bowl halftime shows. They pay out of their own pocket. All those dancers you saw out there, the props, everything else, he paid out of his own pocket for that. But don't feel bad for Kendrick Lamar because I'm pretty sure he's made that back in streams in just the past 48 hours. They always get a bump from doing this. So shout out to Kendrick. The game was kind of a bore, but it's a national event, so we're all there. And other than that, I mean, that was most of the stuff I wanted to get to there. I just wanted to get to the national reaction. I thought it was crazy that the halftime show was talked about more than the game itself. We didn't really talk about the whole thing with Mahomes, GOAT, all that kind of stuff. That's done. Like that. Well, for now, that's if you think about it, he's now 3-2 in the Super Bowl, and the 2 losses he had were blowouts. And one of those losses was to the actual GOAT, Tom Brady. So it's like you can't really. It's like the LeBron Jordan conversation with me. Like now,
Brady went 7-3 in Super Bowl, so it's getting tough. We stacking those losses up.
Yeah,
I mean he's still on pace.
I'm pushing Joe Montana back into the conversation after Sunday night.
I mean, that's fair.
He never lost 4-0. Bradshaw, but at least Montana was out there carving up people. Like it's gonna be hard to catch Tom Brady. And people forget too, Tom Brady went a whole decade between the first 4 Super Bowls he went to and the next 4 he went to. So there was a whole stretch where he didn't make it at all. And we've been spoiled by Pat Mahomes. We might be entering an era where we don't see the Chiefs in the Super Bowl for a while. We might be seeing Jalen Hurts in the Super Bowl for the next couple of years. So anything you want to drop in before we get out of here regarding Super Bowl weekend? Anything you'll take from this weekend as a
Hey man, it's just another one in the books. It's been a privilege and an honor to be alongside you along the way, man. Put another year behind us as we look forward to the next one. See what we got coming up next.
Now, starting when I bring you back on next time, we'll be full-blown NBA. Notice I just completely left my Tar Heels out of this entire conversation because I don't want to talk about them right now. Brother. Yeah, ain't nothing to talk about. Ain't nothing to talk about. Like, yuck. It's not 8-20 bad. It's not Matt Daugherty bad, but there's no big man. There's no big man.
Man,
we're small, dog.
They got bigger problems than the big man.
They need to spend some money. That's what needs to happen.
They got
you got to start borrowing players. Like, I mean, the whole landscape's changed. You can't just point at the Raptors and be like, "Hey, come to Carolina, look what we did." You gotta be like, "Hey, come to Carolina, look what we got." Like,
it's not even about that. You got to have the right personalities. You got to have the right characteristics in the locker room. And they don't have the right DNA right now.
There's no voice really. Like you think it would be RJ Davis, but he's always been quiet. You got all these New York guards up there, and none of them are like a rah kind of guy. And I forgot last year it was really Harrison.
It's not even about rah. You just need to be able to lead,
or just a voice. There's no voice. They're all quiet.
Be an example.
Yeah, and Hubert's kind of natural like that. Well, Hubert will get loud, but it's he can only do so much. The coach can't go out there and shoot. So I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do. They got like 8 games left. Something like that.
What they're going to do is get ready to watch some Tar Heel baseball.
It starts Friday.
That's what they're going to do.
It starts on Friday. Of course, we're the home for North Carolina A&T Athletics. I think we're going to have some baseball coming up here. I need to talk to Brian Holloway and see what they want to do. Basketball still winding down. But of course, you catch all that stuff here. We've got actually A&T Thursday night at 6:30 against Elon on Tobacco Road. So you can hear that there. We got high school basketball tonight, Glenn versus Davie at 7:30 p.m. And Friday, we've got a triple header. We got Easterside for Reagan, Glenn, Parkland, and Mount Tabor. West
you need to get Tabor.
Yeah.
You need to see Snooki.
Yeah, dude. I was there when he dropped 50-something on East. I called that game. And then he dropped
41 on 44 on East and 51 on Glenn the next night. And he had 21 against who was that on Friday? So he scored 106 points in 3 games.
Yeah, he killed it. And the conference tournament's about to start too. So Mount Tabor West on Friday night at West. That might be that is going to be for the conference. So
you've never seen Snook Peterkin go play basketball or do anything.
Go watch him play. He's smooth. He's really smooth guy. And a great kid too. He's a really good kid. So shout out to him, the Virginia Tech commit. I don't know if he's playing basketball for Virginia Tech too or not. Is he playing both? Yeah. Ooh, okay. All right, they got them one. All right, so we got a loaded week this week on Tobacco Road. Definitely follow us here. We're gonna go ahead and hop out of here. Shout out to Jalen Gilkey for stopping by. We're back in 2 weeks. Dave and Glenn will be in next week. Tomorrow we'll have Matt Alquiza from Sports Illustrated from the Hornets beat to discuss what the hell happened with Mark Williams and this Laker Hornet trade being rescinded. Mark Williams played basketball one night. The next night got traded to the Lakers and failed a physical. So we'll figure out. We don't know exactly what happened. And of course, now it's the dawn of Luka and LeBron. They played last night. Lakers won. We'll get into all things NBA tomorrow. We'll see you then.